Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his voice. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our mighty one is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the doctrines of demons and devils. This episode is about the Messiah. He's going to speak to us. And this is part 3. I feel the need to say this. This is an Israelite channel. I'm not here to get viewership. I'm here to bring people back to the Father. What people? The lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. That is my assignment. It is hard for me to stick to this assignment because I see that these days more Europeans are flocking to me to speak to me about this word and about their salvation than ever before. Do I turn them away? No, I do not. I give them clues and information and ask them to go and check. Guess what? They go and check. And then they send me back information of things that they discovered on the subject, validating our position. Brothers and sisters, we are in the last days right now. We're going through this tribulation period, and most of us don't see it. We're too wrapped up with the things of the world. We need to get on our job. The only job that the Father has given to us is to spread this message to our brothers and our sisters. And this is what you must do. I mean, when you look at them and you speak to them, you can see what a strong delusion they're in. When you ask them, have you ever checked? And then they go like crazy or something because they know they didn't. Now you've caught them in a position that they really have no knowledge about the subject, so now they attack. Pray for your brothers and sisters. For the day of our Mashiach is at hand. Let's begin. Matthew chapter 24, verse 1 to 4. Verse 1. And Yahusha went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. Verse 2. And Yahusha said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. The Mashiach has given us a clue. He told us what the temple was going to look like after his demise. There wouldn't be any wall there for you to go and put your prayer into. They write it on paper, put it in the little crack. They come from all over the world. They've lied to us again. That was not the wall of the temple that they were talking about or that they're praying at. They're praying at the wall of the Roman garrison. So if you're praying at that wall, who are you praying to? Their gods? Zeus? Isis? Or whoever it is they were calling on at that time? Because they had multiple gods. Verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Verse 4. And Yahusha answered and said unto him, Take heed that no man deceive you. Isn't that the same thing that Shaul just said? Let no man deceive you by any means. Why is the Mashiach saying it? Shaul saying it? It must be some people out there who intentionally are out to deceive you. This is why you must study for yourself, brothers and sisters. If I say something to you, don't just believe me. Go check it out. It's the same thing that I tell the Europeans or anyone who I speak to. Don't just believe what I'm saying. Go check it for yourself. Especially with the names. Do you see they have Jesus, Jesus, Jesus planted all over here? This is not the name of our Messiah, Jesus, our Mashiach. Why would they do such a thing? Because they want you to worship their God. His name is Yahusha. Check it out. Learn the process of transliteration and translation for yourself. It's really not that hard. It may sound like something hard, but it isn't. You can do it in a couple of minutes. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Did your Mashiach say this? Let's read it again. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. What did they just do? They made you believe that his name is Christ. Let's check it out. Okay, this is the Blue Letter Bible. Come down to the Strong's definitions. You'll see Christos and Christos, two separate transliterations, but they both have the phonetic sound and the phonetic spelling. I wonder why they gave you two, one with a C and one with a K. From G5548. Anointed, that's what it's supposed to mean, i.e., in other words, the Mashiach. Why didn't they use the Messiah or Mashiach in the first place? An epithet of Jesus Christ. What is an epithet? An epithet is something that describes the characteristics of the person that is in question. In this case, it is Jesus. So Christ, according to Strong's definitions, is not a name. It's an epithet. It means that he's anointed. So why did they put it in your Bible as a name? Because Constantine chose the Christian God. They said they tabled, 50 names at the Council of Nicaea, 325. And out of those names, they chose Krishna, they chose Horus, they chose Jesus. And over time, those names morphed into Jesus and into the Christ. Now, here's my thing. I know you said, what is this Horus stuff? Have you ever heard the Europeans, when they curse, they say Jesus H Christ? Have you ever wondered where the H came from or what it means? It means Horus. When did that begin? Here. Invoking his aid and conquering his enemies, being ultimately solidified in his choice by a mystical sign in the sky, which becomes a symbol. The church uses the cross as a symbol. We know all of these things already. They gave you the cross, the sign, the symbol. They gave you a name. We accepted it. Why? We had no knowledge. My people perish because of lack of knowledge. We trusted that they were telling us the truth. We even trusted that when you open up this Bible, that it's supposed to have nothing but truth in it. Look who had this book in their hands. Look who translated it. What were they? Conquerors. The only thing that they were worrying about is conquering their enemies and broadening their empire. Hebrew roots, neglected commandments, idolatry, Sunday, wiki books. The Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible emphasizes the motive of Constantine for legislating Sunday as a day of rest. He chose your Sunday worship also. And stresses, indeed, this God. What God is he talking about? Is he talking about the mighty one that is in the Bible? If he chose the name Jesus, if he chose the name Christ, if he chose the name Jesus, if he chose the name Krishna, if he chose the name Horus, are any of those names in the original text? They are not. So who is this God that he's talking about? In parentheses, the sun god was a titulary divinity of Constantine's family. They were worshiping this god before he so-called converted to Christianity. And from the 4th century, there is an increasing assimilation of Christ to the sun god as the Son of Righteousness. Some transliterations, you can see that in your Bible. The Christos Helios, you see the reference here, and the notable mosaic of Christos Helios recently uncovered in the tomb of the Julie under the Vatican. That's who they're worshiping. And they translated this Christos to who? Into what? They say that our Mashiach's name is Christos, and they transferred it into your book, and they fed it to you, and we didn't check because we were asleep, but now we're awake, and we are aware. Constantine, who reigned from 306 to 337, called the sun deity, the unconquered sun, my companion. Not Yahuwah, not Yahusha. He's talking about the sun god. His edict in the year 321 legislated the venerable day of the sun to be a day of rest. The rest was commanded in honor of the sun god, and not in honor of the Messiah, the Son. You see how they can flip things around just by the words. You have to be aware of this when you're reading your New Testament, because the doctrines of demons and devils, man, they're all through your New Testament. They're even in the Old. But in the New Testament, they just OD'd. So if you worship on Sunday, and you think you got it right, and you never check to see whether Sunday is the day of rest or where it came from, well, here it is right here. It didn't come from the book. It's not in your Bible anywhere that you're supposed to worship on Sunday. Nowhere. Why do our people follow it? They're asleep. They have no knowledge. They're in a strong delusion. That's why they won't check. Now let's return to verse 5 and see how it should be written. We're going to take out in my name, and we're going to take out Christ. But Christ we're going to replace with the Mashiach. Why? Because they told you Christos, i.e., the Messiah. In other words, the Messiah. Why do we go to what the Europeans make? Why don't we just go to the origin? It's Mashiach, isn't it? For many shall come, saying, I am the Mashiach, and shall deceive many. Now that is accurate. In our day, we know of two. I know of two. You probably know many more. Yahweh ben Yahweh said that he was the Mashiach, the Messiah. Yahweh ben Yahweh ben Yahweh, the son of Yahweh, said that he is the Mashiach, and they have deceived many. You see, the name of Yahusha is unheard of. It's nowhere in your text unless you have a sephar, and then it gives you the proper name. But it's unheard of. The only thing you know is Jesus and the Christ. That's the only thing they fed us for 400 years. So our people, because we don't investigate anything, we don't know that Christ is not his name. We don't know the origins of it. Verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So don't think it's over because you see all of these wars. All of the prophecies that the Mashiach is going to give you must be fulfilled before he shall return. Verse 7, for nations shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Verse 8, all of these are the beginning of sorrows. Verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. You know, the apostles must have been trembling right now. He was only speaking to them. He wasn't speaking to anyone else. Only his own people. That's all he spoke to. He said that they're going to afflict you and kill you. If you were the apostles, would you have seen anything good coming out of teaching and going around and preaching to your people? And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Hey, something's wrong. Something is wrong. He said that you're going to be hated by all nations for my name. Jesus is not hated. He is loved above all things. 2.18 billion Christians calling on the name of Jesus. Muslims call his name Jesus. Even the Jews calling his name Jesus. They don't hate that name. So it's obvious that is not the name. But come up to someone and say his name is Yahusha. Watch what happens. Verse 10, and then shall many be offended. They're going to be offended because you're calling on a other name besides the name that they call upon, and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Doesn't look good so far. Verse 11, and many false prophets shall rise. Do you see in the church they all have these titles that they're prophets? And shall deceive many. Verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. 13, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Look what you have to endure. If you thought because you came to Yahuwah, because you humbled yourselves and prayed, sought his face, turned from your wicked ways, you thought that everything was going to be changed and it was going to be wonderful and you weren't going to have any problems. No. Listen what the Mashiach is telling them. He says, you have to endure this to the end. Endure what? You have to be afflicted, killed, hated of all nations. You're going to go through the hatred of our brothers and sisters. The false prophets are going to arise. They're going to deceive many. Iniquity shall abound, and love shall be thrown out the window. You're going to have to endure this. Verse 14. And this gospel, not God's spell. See, God's spell is an old English word. It means that God put a spell on you. No. This word of the kingdom, that is what you're supposed to be looking for, shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So the word, the good news that you're supposed to be preaching to your brothers and sisters is about the kingdom. Not the doctrines of demons and devils where you're going to fly up and you're going to go to heaven. You're going to live in Valhalla and you're going to live in all of these different places. That's not in our book. In our book, it's about the promised land. The saints shall possess the land. And this word has to be witnessed to all nations. Here, listen, he's telling you about the end, what has to happen. What is going on right now? You can go on YouTube and our brothers and sisters are witnessing everywhere. You can get on your phone and every now and then you'll have something pop up that tells you of the name of the mighty one and that the children of Yasharol or Israel is here in the Americas and scattered all around the world. I mean, the information is out there. And then shall the end come. This is what we're trying to bring forward. This is why we have to teach and preach on a constant basis so this word can be out. Verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Let's try to understand. Abomination. It means hatred, desolation, destruction. So let's read this passage again with those two words changed. When ye therefore shall see the hatred of destruction spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Listen what you must understand. The hatred that brings desolation was brought by the Romans. They tried to cleanse themselves of this action. This is what they did when they edited your New Testament. When you think about the death of our Mashiach, you can hear it even today that the Jews killed Christ, that the Jews did not accept Christ. Well, we're not talking about Jews, we're talking about Yahudah. We're talking about the children of Yasharol. They accepted him. Thousands upon thousands gravitated towards him and accepted the word that he was preaching. But they tell you that that the Jews denied him. That's not true. I think that they're talking about the Jews today. They're not talking about the Israelites then. That's where they probably got that from and put it in your book, because your book tells you over and over again of the exploits of your Mashiach and how many people came and accepted this word. So this abomination, this sheer hatred that brought desolation was brought by the Romans. Why is it that people don't know that the Romans came in and destroyed the temple and then they murdered the Israelites with great slaughter? Why don't people know that? Because they cleaned this whole thing up, brothers and sisters. Verse 16, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Who was he talking to? Was he telling the Romans to flee into the mountains? The Romans were the ones who were bringing this desolation. They were standing in the holy place. You know, when they come in, when they come to kill, they always have their standard that goes before them with their god Isis that is up on a pole. Verse 17. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. No, no, no. Don't you do that. If you're up there, you better stay there and hide, because the Romans were coming through with great slaughter. Verse 18. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. You hear that commotion? Don't go back to your house. Go the other way. Verse 19. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. You can't go back to the house and get the baby bag with the Gerber baby food and the bottles pre-made and the pacifiers and the diapers and everything that you have to stuff in there so that your baby can get ready to go on a trip. You're going to have to go just like you are, you, your baby, and your breast. Verse 20. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter. He said pray for that, and not on the Sabbath day. Hold it. He's confirming the Sabbath day. He's talking about a time that's going to happen after his demise. Remember what the doctrines of demons and devils taught us. That once he died, once he perished, everything was transferred to the church. It all changed because the Jews rejected Christ. That is not true, brothers and sisters. But our Mashiach is telling us right here, he says about the Sabbath day. Was it Sunday? Constantine did that, 325 AD? He sealed the word, he sealed it in the books, it became law. Was it Saturday? Hillel II is the only one who changed the Sabbath in modern times, and that happened during the time of Constantinus, I believe the son, and an edict was sent out that no one could observe the orbs in the sky in order to bring forth their Sabbaths and their feast days. So they had to fix the calendar just to appease who? The Romans. So the Sabbath that our Mashiach is not talking about is not Saturday, nor is it Sunday, but it's in the sky, brothers and sisters. He has just validated the Sabbath day here. You still have to keep the Sabbath. Not Constantine's Sabbath, nor Hillel II's Sabbath. Verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Two separate events he's speaking of in this prophetic word. This one he's talking about this great tribulation. What great tribulation was that? When the abomination that brings desolation is standing in the temple. Destruction. The Israelites centered their worship around the temple. The Romans came in with great slaughter, something that has never been seen since the beginning of the world. Look what it says that I have highlighted. The world to this time. This great tribulation is this slaughter that the Romans were going to bring to the Israelites. You see it here? No, nor ever shall be. So after this, you'll never see this type of destruction again. Verse 22. And except those days should be shortened. If he didn't shorten those days when they were destroying the Israelites and killing them, there would be none of us left, no flesh to be saved. But because of the elect's sake, because of the called out ones, because of the ecclesia, those days shall be shortened. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have a remnant left. Verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the Mashiach, or there, don't you believe it. Verse 24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, even in those days, brothers and sisters, and shall show great signs and wonders, tongues, demons being cast out, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So it's impossible for you to deceive those who have the Spirit of the Mighty One, because the Father has poured out his Spirit to who? The elect. Verse 25, behold, I've told you before. So they heard this word before, but yet they're asking again. What happened? Did they forget? That's in our DNA. That's why he tells us not to forget the Sabbath day. Remember, he said. Remember. You have to remember. Our people are prone to selective memory loss. Verse 26. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, don't you go there. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, don't you believe it. Hey, what prophet / Messiah that have come up in these modern times, he's created a whole new religion. He has like 1.8 billion followers. He was in the desert. If you said Muhammad, you are right. Look what your Mashiach said. Don't you go there. Don't you believe it. Verse 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Everyone is going to see it. Everyone is going to know. It's going to be breaking news. It's going to be all over the world. Verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Now he's telling you location. The location, there's going to be devastation and destruction. I wonder where that could be. It's only one location, brothers and sisters. The Promised Land. The birds of prey. There's going to be so many bodies. The birds of prey will be circling. They will have a feast on the bodies of those who have been slain. Verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Something's wrong. We were reading context. Everything was flowing properly. He was giving you the order of events. Now, according to the text, verse 29 and 30, that after the temple was destroyed, immediately after the temple was destroyed, and that tribulation period began when the Romans came in with great slaughter, the Mashiach is going to return. Did that happen? It did not. We're almost 2,000 years later. So something's wrong. Could it be that word immediately? Let's take a look. The Blue Letter Bible. Let's look at the KJV translation count, total 2,870 times. This is how many times this word was translated into the book. It translates Strong's G1161 in the following manner: but, and, now, then, also, yet, yea, so, moreover, nevertheless, for, even, miscellaneous 10 times, not translated 300 times. Come down to outline of biblical usage: but, moreover, and, etc. Come down to Strong's definitions. The word is day. The word where you have immediate, the word is day. A primary particle, adversative or continuation. So this is bringing us a continuation, right? From the temple being destroyed. Everything is flowing. But, and, etc. Also, and, but, moreover, now, often unexpressed in English. Did you see anything here that said immediate? What kind of agenda do these people have? They want to throw you off. They want to make you think that your Mashiach is lying to you. Because he didn't show up after the temple was destroyed and the tribulation that happened of those days. But if you put the right word here, then, not immediate, then, after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened. How long is then? A day with the Mighty One is as 1,000 years. 1,000 years is as one day. So we know through history, when the Father speaks of time, it's always longer than what we expect. When he says weeks, he means years. When he says days, he means thousands of years. So he says, then, after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened. Could be 2,000 years later. That's how long we've been waiting, right? And the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Now he's moved from 70 AD to the end time. And that's when you'll see appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. You see how we debunked another lie that they put in your book? Your New Testament is full of these lies, brothers and sisters. If you don't do what I'm doing here, you will never know the truth. Verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. Check this out. I've been on my phone and I've watched some videos, and around the world these trumpets are sounding. They can't identify where it's coming from or what it is, but it's coming from the heavens. Regular people are recording it. The news agencies have reported it. They don't know what this is all about. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. There's another event that is not listed here that's going to happen when the trumpet is sound. How many of you know what that is? The dead shall rise first. So when this trumpet sounds, the first event is that the dead must rise. Who knows how long in between the dead rising and the people, the elect, are gathered from the four winds of the earth, from one end of heaven to another? This thing could have started already. Go look up the video that I'm talking about. It's about this trumpet sound. And you'll see this for yourself. And when you hear it, if you've ever blown the shofar at your feast days, it is the exact same sound. Verse 32. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. He's using nature to describe how you are to decipher this prophecy. Verse 33. So likewise, ye, you, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. See all what things? We have to see the abomination that brings desolation. We have to see the Israelites, they have to flee into the wilderness. Wars, rumors of wars, all the things that he said before. He said, when you see all of these things, know that he is coming soon. Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all, did he say some? All these things be fulfilled. So that means that the moon must be darkened, and we're supposed to see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds? Did he say this generation? Let's take a look again. Blue Letter Bible, our go-to place to find the truth. Just come to the bottom where it says the KJV translates Strong's G1074 in the following manner: generation, 37 times, time, 2 times, age, 2 times, nation, 1 time. Why did they use generation? Why didn't they use time or age? Let's see. Let's go back and read verse 34 again using those words. Verily I say unto you, that this time shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. You got it? He didn't say generation. He said this time or this age shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. All you have to do is be a person who understands diction and how to read, and you must know the flow. You must read context. You must see everything that is going on in the text. Because the generation at that time did not see the Mashiach come in the clouds with great glory. They didn't hear a trumpet sound or any of those things. So it must be the wrong word that they used. Generation. Should not be generation. It should be this time. Or this age shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. You see how they make you think that this Mashiach was supposed to come under the generations of the apostles. You know, he's speaking to the apostles. So he says, this generation, the generation you're in now, right? That's not what he says. He says, this time, this age, it shall not pass. It's a continuation till all these things be fulfilled. Verse 35. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. He said that in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 through 19. Don't you think that I came to abolish the law of the prophets? I've not come to abolish them, but to fulfill. Till heaven and earth pass away, not one dot or tittle will pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. See that? He's saying it right now. He didn't say anything about a generation. Do you see the lies that they put in your book? It's called Lost in Translation. If you believe the Europeans and don't go deeper than what they show you, you won't understand these prophecies. Verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. I thought they said that Jesus was God. Why doesn't he know this? I thought he was a part of this triune God, the Trinity. If he's a part of the triune God, that means that they are one. That's what they try to tell you, right? Therefore, he should know when that day and hour is. What? The Trinity doesn't communicate with each other? The doctrines of demons and devils are so foolish, it is ridiculous. When you start to read the scripture the way it's supposed to be read, you can see all of these lies. Verse 37, but as the days of Noah were. Why did they spell Noah N-O-E? Why didn't they spell it in the proper transliteration N-O-A-H so that you can get the name? Because the name really is Noach. But still, why did they not spell it the way they have it in the Old Testament? They don't want you to go back to see what happened in the days of Noah. What happened in the days of Noah? Their fathers came down from heaven, saw the daughters of men, so that they were fair, and took wives of all in which they chose. And listen what it says. This thing was going to happen before the flood and also after the flood. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Noah was a type of the Mashiach. He carried the pure bloodline, the race of Yahuwah. He put them in the ark and carried them to safety and brought them to salvation. When the Son of Man, our Mashiach, comes, he's going to do the same thing. Bring us into the promised land. Verse 38, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. They were unaware. Just like the people today. They think they have a pure religion. They're following pure faith. But they are totally unaware of what is happening in their surroundings. Verse 39, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, how can the people be not aware? I mean, Jesus is preached around the world. 2.18 billion Christians on the planet. And you mean to tell me no one is aware? Verse 40, then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Verse 41, two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. They created a rapture doctrine around this. You've seen the movies, right? Where people just start disappearing. I don't believe it's going to happen like that. I believe the whole world is going to be aware of what is really going down. They're going to see it. If they don't see it, how are they going to be weeping and mourning, right? The Mashiach is going to come. He's going to gather his people. It's going to be announced. All the governments are going to be told, let my people go and give them your substance. Verse 42. You better watch. You don't know what hour your Mashiach doth come. You see, they got Lord here with a capital L. They're trying to make him God again. But we know he cannot be the mighty one. Why? Because he doesn't even know the day or the hour. So that Trinity doctrine is out the window. Only the Father knows this. Only Yahuwah knows this. Verse 43. But you know this, that if a good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. He would have kept his eyes open. He wouldn't have went to sleep. He would have paid attention. He would have been on guard. Verse 44, therefore, be ye also ready. For in such an hour as ye think not, that's when your Mashiach is going to come. Be on guard. Listen, all of the things that he's spoken of just about has come to pass, haven't they? We're just waiting for what? One event? The moon, the sun being darkened, the moon should not give its light, stars falling from heaven. We're going to look for the carcasses where the eagles fly. What does that mean? That where devastation and destruction is going to take place, that's where you to look. Are you not paying attention to what's happening over in that so-called Middle East? Every nation is gathering there. The tension is ratcheting up. It's about to explode over there. There's going to be bodies, and the birds of prey and the buzzards shall eat the flesh of the carcasses of the men. When you see the buzzards flying over around and around and around in a circle, that's where it's going to go down. Verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? All right. You have to be faithful. To what? To the word. You have to be wise. How can you be wise if you're not studying to show yourself approved? A workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Verse 46. Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Doing what? He is supposed to give them, the people, meat in due season. What is that meat, Brother David? It is the word of Yahuwah, the law, statutes, judgments, and commandments. Remember when Kepha was talking to the Mashiach, and the Mashiach kept saying, do you love me? And Kepha kept saying, well, Kepha is Peter, by the way. And Peter kept saying, yes, of course I love you. He said, feed my flock. Feed them what? The meat that comes from the word. Verse 47. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. He said all. Doesn't Yahuwah own everything? Did he not create the world? He says, the earth is mine. The gold, the silver is mine. The cattle on 1,000 hills is mine. You are an heir to all these things. Verse 48. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming. You've heard that. Been thousands of years, he hasn't come yet. Verse 49. And then begin to smite his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunken. Party over here. We got plenty of time. Verse 50, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not. He's going to come as a thief in the night. For him. And in an hour that he is not aware of. What is the penalty? Verse 51. And shall cut him asunder. And appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. You know, those who say one thing and do another, where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That is the lake of fire. Just think, you were called out from all people of the earth, but yet you're going to find your bed with all of the heathen and the devils. What a mess. Brothers and sisters, as you have seen, when you read and you study these prophecies, you have to look out for your enemy. They have many additions, many bad translations and bad transliterations. Some of the people who translated this book were just totally ignorant. They really didn't know. Remember, the book was only given to the children of Yasharal. Only those who have his spirit can see these things and can understand. This is why I said from the very beginning, this channel is not for them. It's for us. Because the Father is revealing things that have been hidden to us for thousands of years, and now we are aware of the deceptions of the church, the Jews, the Islam. As you see, I don't spare anyone, do I? I'm not just concentrated on the Europeans or concentrated on the Jews or concentrated on Islam. I'm also concentrated on the Israelites. They are the ones in question. They are the ones who have turned from their father and gone a-whoring after other gods. Look, where you shall find your bed, if you keep calling on that Jesus and that Christ fellow, in the lake of fire. Now remember what you've just learned about this tribulation period and how this thing works. He gave it to you in chronological order, but they give you a few words that could throw you off to make you believe that, oh, this can't be true because some of these things already happened. The Messiah didn't show up in 70 AD immediately after the temple was destroyed. No, it didn't happen that way. But when you look for the true words and the true translations, like we did before in the Blue Letter Bible, you find out how it works. Now continue to part 4, and we're going to go into the book of Daniel. Why are we going to the book of Daniel? Now we shall complete our Trinity. What Trinity is that, Brother David? You worshiping false gods too? No, I'm talking about 3 witnesses. Shalom.